gentlemen, welcome to the SupercaZt. Now introducing our defense. At left defensive end, standing at 10 feet, weighing a whopping 750 pounds, the Green Knight.
Hey guys, haven't seen you in a while. I didn't miss this guy's up.
At defensive tackle, standing at 400 feet, weighing an unknown amount, Godzilla.
How does that guy have a deeper voice than me?
And at right defensive end, standing 5'6", weighing 160 pounds, Rudy. Today on the SupercaZt, we look at the film Rudy.
And welcome back to the SupercaZt. I'm Steve Z, the man who put the Z in SupercaZt. And along with me, as always, is...
the Super Foch, the man who put the super in SupercaZt.
And we're getting ready. I don't know, did you watch any football today?
I did. I watched the Alabama-Texas game, and Auburn's playing right now, so...
Yeah, so football season is going.
It is here.
Super Foch picked out this movie. It's the classic football film, Rudy. And for me growing up, I did not watch this movie too much. I don't think I actually watched it till I got in college. So I don't have that nostalgia for it. So watching this movie for the first time in many years last night was a real treat. So I'm ready to talk about it. What about you?
Yeah, I love this film. I've loved this film since I think I caught it one day on one of those Saturday afternoon movies that you would see on TV, you know?
Yeah.
And it was obviously the TV version, so they cut a bunch out, but I loved it. I thought Sean Astin was really, really good, and just an all-around great film. In fact, I named a cat that I used to have after Rudy just because I love that film so much. So this is a really, really good film, and I think we do sell it short saying it's a sports film because, yeah, it's centered around sports, but that's not what this film is about. There's a much deeper thing going on, and like you said, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, is the best sports films are kind of like those universal, they work whether you're a sports fan or not, and I think this one definitely does.
I agree 100%.
Our protagonist, Rudy, he's a pretty likable guy. You're rooting for him the whole time, and it's really neat because we've all seen movies like this. We've seen the based on a true story. We've seen the underdog comes out on top. But I think that they managed to make it still seem fresh and still make us invested and still want us to see what happens. So I think it's a good film because it does that.
And, you know, there's a lot of liberties taken, as we were talking before we came on the air. There's a lot of liberties taken from the life situation. But I think if you really watch the movie for what it is, like you said, I think you don't care otherwise because it's believable. I mean, nothing that happens is really that unbelievable, but it's just some of the things that they portray in the film actually did. It's not a step-by-step account, but I think it gets the point across in the film.
Yeah, and they don't ever just betray the character. They don't betray the sport just for the sake of spectacle or something. I think their biggest thing is they will raise the stakes a little bit, make it a little bit harder for Rudy. Sometimes add a few characters in there that didn't exist just to kind of either make it better for Rudy or worse for him. But that doesn't bother me because I think the film works. Yeah, it's not a documentary, guys. That's the big thing.
Right, no.
You have to sit down when you watch a movie and realize it's not true life. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. I think when you know what you're getting from this film and it says based on a true story, which, like you said, it comes from truth, but some of it may not be true. So it's just for entertainment purposes, and it is dang entertaining, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, pretty sure you're probably familiar with the film if you're sitting down to listen to this. But if you're not, here's a quick rundown from the plot. So, the story's about Rudy Rudiger. And I don't know why his parents decided to name him that, but
Yeah, that's
I guess they thought it sounded pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Rudy is this little pint-sized guy that loves football, but
Yep.
even more than that, he loves the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And he decides as a little kid, I'm going to just throw this out there, everybody, I'm going to play for the Irish.
Yep.
And everybody laughs at him and says, that's the stupidest thing ever.
Yep.
So then we jump ahead several years. He's graduating from high school. He's not really making the grades. Still loves football, and he's been a pretty good senior and all that, but realizes his football days are almost over. Goes and works for 4 years in the mines, saves up his money so he can go to Notre Dame, and feels like he's not going to make his big change until his friend Pete dies. And that's
Right.
what
Oh,
convinces him, I got to go out there, I got to make my dreams happen. So then we follow Rudy, going through his trials. I mean, it's a journey for this guy.
It is.
So
Yeah.
eventually does get the tryout, but after a bunch of stuff happens to him. So let's get into it. What do you think?
Man, I mean, the thing is, and Sean Astin is superb in this film. I think he has the spirit of Rudy down to a T. I mean, doesn't talk like him, he doesn't really look like him at all, but this is a guy, and I took to this character pretty early on before I even knew who the real Rudy was, because he was a smaller guy. And, you know, he gets kind of picked on for being smaller, you know, people don't really respect him, and he's just kind of down on his luck for most of the film. So when you get that big payoff at the end, and we'll get there later, it's just so satisfying beyond words. I mean, it's just incredible what this guy went through. And again, creative license was done a little bit, but I really think it captured what Rudy was trying to do. I mean, he works hard. It's not just making a football team. This is going to school. This is, you know, trying to better himself. And I think that's an important part of the film too, is that he's not just banking on, you know, going to play football and then, you know, go to the NFL or something. I think he knew his days were numbered. So when he got on the team, that's a big moment too. So I love how the story's structured. You follow this guy step by step, and by the end of it, you're just like, wow, this was amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this film work, really, is that the Rudy, the character, is so likable. And you're rooting for him. You're going on with him through this journey. I mean, I don't remember any scenes that he's not in, really. I think
so.
he's pretty much in every scene, so a lot of heavy lifting for Sean Astin in this one. Because he has to be the guy that makes the film work. You have to fall in love with him. You have to like him a lot. And he does it. He's got so much charm and just likability. You want him to succeed. You see his pain. You feel bad for him when he actually experiences just disappointment. And he gets a lot of it. For me, the scene that really got me was when Pete dies. And he has to go to the funeral and apologize to the kid and the wife, and it's just, I don't know. That scene, I don't know if you're watching movies sometimes and you get mad at the filmmakers.
Oh, yeah.
That, I got mad last night when I was watching this movie. I'm like, how could you guys do this? Don't make me, So,
yeah, I know, yeah.
But I think Sean is does the comedy, he does the drama, he does it all in this film.
Yeah, I mean, he carries this film, and like you said, he was pretty young back then, so to carry a film of this magnitude was a pretty big thing. And yeah, he was surrounded by a lot of great co-stars. The guy that plays his dad is one of my favorites. I mean, there's a lot of people around him that have great performances, but this movie does not work unless Sean Astin works. And like I said, he doesn't look like him or necessarily sound like him, but his spirit's there. You believe he is who he is, and that's just a testament, I think, to A, the writing, and B, Sean's performance.
Yeah, and the writing really sets him up. It
Does.
shows you what he has to give up to go and follow this dream. Because I like the first 10, 15 minutes of the film. You see, he's a boy or a man that's torn. He could just settle down in this life and live like his dad, live like his brother, and he's even got a girlfriend, I think, or fiance or something. They're
Something
about
like
to
that,
buy
yeah.
a house. So
Yeah.
then Pete's death happens. I keep bringing that up, and it sends him off, and the whole movie just changes at that point because it's not an easy thing for him to do, and just from the get-go, nobody wants to give him a chance, really, except for that
Right.
one. Is the father
Priest.
Kavanaugh, played by Robert
Kavanaugh. Yeah, yeah,
Prosky?
yeah.
He's the guy that
Great
extends the
performance.
olive branch. Says, "Okay, kid, I can't get you to Notre Dame, but I can get you into Holy Cross, and after you have good grades, you can get in." And I think that's what you were talking about earlier. It's not just about football. He has
No.
to make the grades, and we find out later that Rudy, he's dyslexic,
Yeah.
and
And
nobody
that
knew
was not
this.
a thing back then.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was the thing when he was in school. They were just like, I guess he's just a little slow, and they just think he's kind of lazy. He daydreams a lot, but probably he's got some ADHD or something. And school's not the easiest for him, but he's so determined. He's gonna go hit the books, do all he can. He even makes friends with a TA because he
Yep.
realizes I need this guy to be my best friend. Otherwise, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, his performance, John Favreau, I think you were talking about. I think his performance is not praised enough. Yeah, he doesn't have a huge part in this film, but I think he really embodies what it is to be a good person and to be there for Rudy, help him out, be his whatever he needs. And so he becomes like family. He's almost like, I'm not going to say he replaces his friend that died, but definitely comes to Rudy at a really, perfect timing anyway.
Yeah, and I guess it starts off as, "Hey, ma'am, help me out. I'll help you out," and that's kind of what it is.
Yep.
He's going to help out Rudy with the books, and Rudy's going to help out D-Bob with the girls, and that's just kind of funny for me because I understand Rudy why he's a likable guy, but he
Yeah.
does not seem like the guy that would just, oh yeah, he gets all the girls. But I guess the D-Bob,
No.
he's just like, this is my guy, and
Yep.
they're very likable. They're very much, they become sort of partners because they're both
They do.
the underdogs. Because D-Bob, I guess he's so awkward, so socially
Right.
like not. He doesn't have it. He might have the brains, but he does not have the courage. He cannot go talk to a girl. Meanwhile, Rudy's this little bitty guy that wants to be on the Irish, and he just tells everybody about it. And so
Yep.
that I guess they make a good pairing, the two of them.
Oh yeah, I think they work well with each other. And again, I buy their relationship as it progresses on through the film. And as you said, this film's not about football. The main thing is the journey, and look how far Rudy has to go. I mean, see all the stuff that he goes through. Of course, like we said, starting with the death of his friend and scraping by. I mean, just doing all these odd jobs just to go to school. And he's a very, all purposes, he was a pretty good student. I mean, he works hard at this thing. But the most impressive thing for me is that even when he makes Notre Dame's football team. Oh, and by the way, heavy spoilers. So, if you haven't seen this movie, sorry about that. I don't think we even said that for our last episode, but there we go. But even when he makes the football team, I mean, he is hungry. He's hitting people and he's going crazy in these drills. And the coach is like, man, if I had half of that with all you boys, I'd have a really good team or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. But he just shows that he's willing to work. Even when he gets an opportunity, he's willing to work to keep it and succeed. And that's a fantastic lesson for anybody.
Yeah, he's just so driven, and he has a few times where he's disappointed. Like, he goes and he has a pretty good semester of grades, but it's not enough to get him into Notre Dame. He gets rejected. And just every time he goes to get that letter, you just feel for him. He's like, man, he got rejected again. Until finally he gets accepted, and he just freaks out. He's so excited. Goes home and tells his family. That's where he gets another major thing in his face, where he finds out his ex-fiance or girlfriend, whatever she was, Sherry, is dating his brother. So there we go.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, so he's just like, I don't know if I'm going to stay now. I'm out of here. I'm going to go back to South Bend. And he goes back and he starts working out because he wants to make the team. And it's hard because a bunch of other people make the team too. So he barely makes it. He gets his butt kicked. He has to ice himself every single day because this guy, I know we say he's little, but he's taking on huge offensive linemen. I mean, as you know, probably. Offensive linemen are the biggest guys out there.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's getting smacked in the face by these guys constantly.
And the thing is, even when he makes the team, he's actually on the practice squad. He is basically a punching bag for all those All-Americans and big guys to just beat the crap out of him. And that doesn't deter him. He's like, he gets up and he's like, I want some more, man. That fires me up every time I see that part, because it's like, he is not letting anything derail him. And again, it's just extremely inspirational, and I just love that message that you work hard, you will get rewarded for it. And that's, I mean, I know that's an old adage and everything, but I think this movie really proves that, because again, this movie is about him working towards something, not inheriting it or anything like that. He worked for every single thing he got throughout this film. And it's just a really, really well-made film with a really awesome message. Sorry for the rant.
Yeah, and I like how it's structured too. Like, the first half of the film is the journey to get on the team, and then once he's on it, he's doing all he can to help out. And I think every team has guys like Rudy on there. Like, all good teams have that guy that, he's not going to be the star out on the field on game days, but he makes the team better because he's in practice. And I love it how he just buys into that role. He's like, I'm not you guys, but I'm going to make it tough for you guys and make you guys better.
Yep.
And that's really cool. He's definitely a team player, and it just shows you how much he loves the Irish, but also how much he wanted this dream and how hard he's going to work for it. So really cool, really inspiring. I guess we should talk about some of these other characters a little bit. So I guess we'll talk about his dad. Ned Beatty is
one of my favorite characters.
Mr. Rudiger.
Yeah, Ned Beatty is, of course, for me, most famous for his role in the Superman films in the 70s. But so when I saw this guy and realized who he was, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I think he is just... I think he's just amazing in this film. I think he's a very loving father. I think, he really cares for Rudy's future. And while he may not think Rudy's going to go too high, I don't ever think he would say, oh, you can't do that, you're just a loser. I think he encourages him in his own way. And that scene where he tells all his coworkers that his son's going to Notre Dame, that kind of chokes me up every time I see that scene, because that's a proud father right there. And Ned Beatty is just perfect for this role.
Yeah, and it's really cool because what they did with his character, he goes and he's the guy that sees Rudy off at the bus station. He's like trying to talk some sense into him because he wants to protect him. He's like, I don't want to see you get hurt. He's like, that place is not for guys like you and me.
Nope.
And then he's happy to be proved wrong. He's like, this is awesome. And you kind of think when he does announce that to the plant, this is a huge news because none of their kids have gone to college probably.
Right.
None of them went to college. It's a huge thing. And it, of all things, that going to Notre Dame, the school that they loved watching when it was on TV, but also is such an elite academic place. So he knows that Rudy is going to be set up after he gets this degree if he can finish it up.
Yep. And that's another thing too. It shows many scenes of him working out and working hard on the football field, but it also shows his scenes where he's doing his homework. And I know that might not sound like much, but to me that also proves that he had his priorities. He's like, I'm going to play football, but I'm also going to get a college degree because that's what I said I would do. And to show that studying and to show that he's not being, distracted or anything by anything really, then it just shows what he's determined to do, and that's A, play on the team, and then B, graduate.
Yeah, and I don't think he could have done it without this one character. And I think he's the heart of the film. It's John S. Dutton as Fortune, he's the head groundskeeper, who
Oh man.
I don't think Rudy could have done it without this guy. So he's the character that basically gives Rudy a job, but also sneaks Rudy a key so he has a place to stay. And because he just feels for this guy, he sees this kid is doing all he can. He's gonna work originally for free. He's like, just let me do it. I'll work for free. But then he's like, okay, I got to pay you, and he gets paid. But I think his best scene is obviously when Rudy's in his wits' end. He's been doing all this, and anybody would have done this at any point, probably way sooner than Rudy.
Right.
But he realizes he's not going to get the dress out for that final game. So he's just like, forget this. I'm going home. Not going to practice anymore. What's the point? And Fortune stops him. He's like, you shut up. It's like, you're on Notre Dame's football team. Nobody thought you could do this. You're going to leave with a college degree. How is this even possible? And he's just like saying, you better go out there and do it one last time. Otherwise, you're just the biggest idiot around. And I just love his frankness. I love his passion, and also just how he's not going to come out and say, I love you, Rudy, and hug him or anything like that. That's not his style. But he does his
tough love.
He still does his like quiet ways of helping out Rudy, and I think he's a really well written character and a well acted character.
Yeah. While I really wouldn't want to see a remake of this film, I got my Samuel L. Jackson vibes with that character, because I think he could probably play that character just about as good too. So when I watch this film, I've always liked the janitor's part. I think he's just, like you said, he encourages Rudy in his own way, and he's proud of him, and he's there to see him succeed ultimately in his big dream.
Helps out a lot, and we've already mentioned Father Kavanaugh earlier. I really like that actor. I like his performance.
Me too.
Rudy definitely had some help,
Yep.
but it's mainly him. And I guess we should get into the whole director, music, and all that stuff. What makes this film work? Because yes, it's the story. Yes, it's the character. But sometimes you can have those, and it doesn't come together, and you're not invested. But I think the direction by Mr. Anspall, I never can say his name right, David Anspall. He's known for this movie. He's known for Hoosiers, so he can make a exciting sports movie. And I think this one definitely fits the bill. What do you think about his direction in the film?
I think it's fantastic. I think the way they shot the film, the way they structured it, the way it's told basically is just perfect. Because like I said towards the beginning, this is a progressive film. You go from one point with Rudy to so many other points to get to the climax. And like I said, because that journey is so compelling and you're rooting for him, that ending is just so satisfying. And you just can't help but be like, yeah, he did it. That is just, it's inspiring. Like I said, I hate to keep repeating myself, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I really have respect for him, because a movie like this, it can get ultra cheesy. It can just be so cheesy that you can't even watch it. Because you've seen it before. You've seen the underdog story. You've seen a sports movie. But for me, this movie, I think the best thing he does is he creates a setting that feels real. Like when you're seeing the steel place early on, it's like, this town has a story. You see people going to their houses, you can feel like they're going to go and live their lives. They're going to go in there, watch TV, do whatever. I feel that when I'm watching this film. And he doesn't belabor anything. It just moves on to the next thing and keeps us invested. And it chugs along great. And I just love how it's shot. Like when he shows up to South Bend and gets on that campus, once again, I feel the setting. I feel I can breathe in the college spirit. Like the excitement of the game. We experience it with Rudy. And I think it's just great filmmaking when you can make the audience feel like they're with the characters in the film, experience them with them. So I think that's what he does best. It's shot really well. It has great pacing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes, we've seen this letter scene before, but I guess they really want to make it that much gratifying when he does get accepted.
Yep, I completely agree with that. And, I don't know. Do you know the story of how they shot the ending?
I guess it's probably what they do sometimes with movies where they have an actual football game going, and then
Yep.
there's like
Yeah, they did it at the half. Like the band didn't come on and play. They just shot all of that in the half, and that's pretty brutal in its own right to shoot that much footage and get that much going. I thought that's really impressive because halftime's only like 20 minutes, so they really had to
That's
work
true.
their tail off for this.
well, yeah, they had to have a lot of good planning.
It
And
did.
pretty much
I agree.
had to block the whole scene. No, this is where we're putting the cameras. We're going to move more cameras here.
Yep.
Like, that's a lot of planning to go into something like that. So that gives me more respect for them.
I agree.
And then we got our music. Jerry Goldsmith.
Solid.
I like the score. It's yeah. Once again, it could have been cheesy, but for me, it hits all the right notes, literally.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it helps those emotional scenes have that extra punch to them. It's just working great. Just the direction, the music, Aston's performance, just great.
I agree. Yeah, it's. I can recognize that score anywhere, and I'm like, yep, that's the Rudy score, and it kind of fires you up when you hear it because you're like, oh man, I'm getting that motivation from Rudy like he had. And it's a pretty good workout song actually.
Imagine so. And we've talked about the major themes. It's a man's courage, a man overcoming the odds. But I guess we'll get into some of the scenes that people knock this movie for.
Yeah.
And you probably know which one I'm going to talk about. The jersey scene. So what do you think about the guys hanging their jerseys up saying, I'm not playing coach if Rudy doesn't play? What do you think?
As a scene in a film, I think it's extremely powerful. I think it says that the team's got Rudy's back. He's proven himself. We need to get this guy his own chance. While obviously the whole jersey thing didn't happen, there was probably a lot of that. There's probably a lot of players saying stuff like, this Rudy guy, he busts his butt every day at practice. He really just wants one chance. And they also say, because Notre Dame gets a different coach in the middle of the film, and the prior coach really did like Rudy, but the new one, according to this film anyway, he was really hesitant to put Rudy in at all. So that's why they did what they did with the jerseys. But I have a feeling a lot was said to him prior to that game. And let's just give this kid, one shot.
Yeah, this is what we're going to talk about earlier. It's okay to take certain liberties. And this scene,
Yeah.
it is ultimate cheese. It's like, but it works so well in this film. It doesn't feel cheesy. It feels like, no, this is emotional.
No.
We're rooting for Rudy, and the ball's not in his court this time. But because he's made so much an impact on this team, they want to fight for him now. And that's really cool. And I understand why they changed the history a little bit. They made it to where this coach does not like him. Because they needed an enemy. They need somebody to go against Rudy. And I know that actual coach probably doesn't like that he was made out to be the villain of the film. But same time, it works as a scene. So it doesn't bother me. I think the movie, when it hits its climax, when it hits that play, it's great. And it's so cool because this is where the movie and the actual real life kind of sync up. Because Rudy went out there, he made the play,
He did.
and they carried him out on his shoulders. And it's really cool to watch that ending.
I don't know if you thought about this. I'm sure you might have, but there's another film that's not necessarily about winning a championship, anything like that, and that's the movie Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
And he has this goal, and he works hard for it. So I think these two movies, while they're pretty vastly different, I think they have the same message of, if you work hard, like I said earlier, good things will come. And for Rudy, he could have quit so many times. He could have given up on himself. But it's like I read somewhere years ago that people that want to be successful don't ever quit. They just keep going, and they just keep imagining themselves as winners or as, whatever they want to be. And I think that's what Rudy was doing in this film.
Yeah, it's really inspiring, and I guess connecting it to Rocky, I think they make a good double feature. And
yeah.
I think why we like Rudy and why we like Rocky is because in life we go through these things. We go through times where we don't feel the best, or just life just throws us all this stuff. But we can't just hang our head and cry and just, I give up. We got to keep pushing. And we got to be like, that's why I think we identify with these characters, because we've all been through stuff. We've all had to overcome things, and it's really cool watching them reach the top, and like maybe it inspires us to go out and chase our dreams and reach the top too.
And that's the thing, like not just in movies, but you see people in real life all the time that bounce back from hardship after hardship to succeed. I mean, they don't care what's in their way. They're gonna knock it down and get to wherever they need to be. And again, that's what this movie's message is, hey, if you work hard, you're gonna, but you can't, let people talk you down. You can't let this distraction niche you. And he doesn't. I mean, he is laser focused, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, and we get to celebrate with him. It's a great experience. I'm a man enough to say it. This movie made me cry a few times, and especially the end. If a movie can do that, it's great. So, if you want to be inspired, if you want to just take a break from the actual football games and watch a guy pretend to be a football player in a film, go watch Rudy out. I wish it was streaming somewhere.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not. I had to rent it.
Yep.
But if you want to go and buy it, it's really super cheap. Like I saw the DVDs like $3 on Amazon, and the Blu-rays $5. So go do that. Watch Rudy again.
And my last comment here is, I didn't know the real Rudy for years, because again, this was back in the 90s, and you couldn't just look him up on the internet. I mean, I knew his name, but I couldn't pick him out of a hat or anything like that. But in the years followed, he's done a lot of speaking engagements, and they'll put him on YouTube and stuff. And yeah, again, this guy is not Sean Astin's clone. He kind of talks differently, but he hammers down that point that we've been making, is the hard work that he did. And he was like, yeah, it was hard for me. I struggled. So it wasn't without struggle, as we see in the film. And he ultimately got his one wish, pretty much.
Yeah. So go check it out. Can't sell the movie anymore.
Nope.
It definitely is not a perfect film, but as we always say, what film is? So if you haven't seen it in a while, watch Rudy.
Thank you guys for joining us. We really do appreciate you guys listening to us. We have a lot of fun with these reviews. Stay tuned. We've got some episodes coming up, and live stream. If you guys hadn't been part of our live stream, get ready for that. A lot of cool things in here in the next few days and weeks for the SupercaZt.
Yep, and we're finishing off our 90s thing, watching Lion King. I'm going to be reviewing that. I have not seen Lion King since, I don't know, 1995, 1994 when it came out.
Yeah.
So this will be fun.
Be a good discussion, I think. So like we said, guys, thanks again for joining us. And, please keep sharing our stuff and liking our stuff, because we just love putting these out. We work hard to do this. And we appreciate everybody that's been supporting the channel, obviously from day one, but even the new people, welcome, and we're so glad you guys love us. So thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. And we look forward to hearing from you, and look forward to presenting the next episode of the SupercaZt. You guys be good.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the SupercaZt. If you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Twitter at SupercaZt with a Z. We also have a Facebook group. Just search SupercaZt. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you can be notified when we drop a new episode. Also, we are now on TikTok. Come join us for mini reviews, trivia, and more. Just search at SupercaZt and follow us today.